Hi, in this example, now we're going to go over and include two more items that we had not produced before. I had talked about obtaining a cost equation in my last example. In this example, now we're going to talk about cost, revenue, and profit functions. And there's three different functions to consider right here. The first one, erase that. The first one right here, our cost equation, we've already talked about that one. We said that cost is equal to the variable cost V times X, where X is the number of units produced, plus the fixed value F. Now, if we are going to find a revenue is defined as the amount that we make for selling however many units we put out there. So if we're selling bread for $1 or $2.20 a loaf, every X units that we sell, we're making $2.20 revenue. Alright, so revenue is just how much we make raw money without considering any of the other things in there. So our revenue cost, if S is the selling cost per unit sold, right, number of dollars per unit sold, and X is the number of units are sold, then we just simply take the selling cost per unit sold times the number of units sold. R of X equals S times X. And then finally, our equation for profit right here, profit is defined as revenue minus cost. If we take the amount of money that we make by selling those X units and we subtract from it the cost for those X units, we're going to get how much profit we make over and above the selling price, which seems to make sense. If I sell you bread for $2.20 a loaf and it costs me $1 or $2 per loaf, I'm making 20 cents profit each loaf that I make. So if we put in our formulas right here, there's a little bit of algebra to be done, but it's really easy to see. Our revenue equation, S of X, if we subtract our cost equation, V of X plus F, we distribute the negative sign to both terms inside of the parentheses to eliminate the parentheses. And then we take our S of X minus V of X. That's really the same thing as just saying S minus V. So if we have our selling cost minus our variable cost, we've got our value that we multiply by X minus the fixed cost. So we can actually vary this, and we're going to use this last formula to help us determine our profit equation. Alright, so let's go ahead and do this out. We're actually told in this example that our variable cost is $90 per unit, so we actually have that one. Our fixed cost is $2,000, and our selling price is $100 per unit sold. Alright, so every unit that we sell, we're going to be making 100 minus 90, $10 more, right? Minus that overhead cost of $2,000. So remember, we have a bit of ground to make up here. So, all right, cost equation, C of X. We fill in the blank right here. We're going to say our cost equation is equal to the variable cost, that's V equals 90, times X units sold, plus our fixed costs of $2,000. Our revenue, remember, is the selling price per unit times the number of units sold. And in this case, S is equal to 100 times X. So we're doing pretty good. So our profit function, to get our profit function, it says take S minus V. Well, S we said was 100. V was 90 times the X number of units sold minus the fixed cost of $2,000. So our profit function looks like this. It's going to be 10 times X minus $2,000. Now, as an added bonus right here, we can just really quickly say, well, when do we at least break even in our profit? Remember, we're saying that, okay, we're only getting $10 for each new unit sold, and it cost us $2,000 in the first place. When do we actually make up that $2,000? Well, that means when our profit is 0 we get a break-even point. So if we solve that point, 0 is equal to 10 times x minus 2,000. We have to solve for x in this equation, so we would add 2,000 to both sides. 2,000 equals 10 times x. We have to divide both sides by 10 to get x by itself. And so 200 units must be sold for us to at least break even. If we want to make any profit, we have to sell more than that. And selling those kind of things and finding out how much you actually have to sell is a supply and demand function, and we'll talk about that in our next example.